Hey there, my name is Przemek and today I got for you Gladivs Records feature. I think it's the third one. I leave the links to the previous ones in the description of this video. And today I got for you 4 reviews of 4 albums from Gladivs Records and its sublabels. And these are these 4. And we begin with this one, Legion Ritualis, Rites of Futility. It's a project from Australia, and the name Legion Ritualis brings to mind all those B-class martial industrial projects like Legionary or Vir Martialis, and at first glance this album sounds like that as well, like something that could have been released like 15 years ago by Rage Needle, the Polish label, but fortunately this debut by the Australians is more than just a cliche synthetic martial industrial. The album looks like this, the cover. It's a nicely designed digipack with a booklet inside. The booklet, like usually with the lyrics, which are there's a lot of lyrics as you can see, and the credits, and they call themselves, their music, as neo-noir music, which doesn't really fit me because I relate this term to literature or cinema, and it means something completely different than what I hear from the speakers, at least for me. We all know neo-noir examples of movies or books, but okay, it's just a catchy description, and according to the group or label, this term refers to a blending of different types of dark music, like martial industrial, classical music, black metal or gothic, and all of that can be found here on Rites of Futility. And the basis, the foundation, is martial industrial with a pompous atmosphere, marching rhythms, and other attributes of this type of music, but it's the other sounds that do the job here, entwining this martial core like some kind of embrace of some snake, and both metal riffs and classical music samples taken from Stravinsky, Bach, Wagner or Prokofiev, among others, make that cause that Rites of Futility has more life, more authenticity, and kind of a human factor or human element than many other contemporary martial industrial projects, which at least to me sound as if they are composed by AI or some androids or whatever. And also the musicians took care of the lyrical layer. Each song has a lyrics, obviously, that you can find in the booklet, and in addition to their own lyrics, we also have lyrics by Aleister Crowley, Howard Phillips Lovecraft or Edgar Allan Poe. And I won't delve into the concept, with the general motto of the album is Memento Mori, remember you must die. And here in the credits there's another motto, nothingness awaits, so it is now that we must expose the rituals. And yes, this album won't become one of my favorites released this year. Sometimes it can be overwhelming. Sometimes some motives or sequences are stretched out too much for my taste, especially these marching rhythms. After a while, start to get boring. But on the other hand, when, for instance, such a sequence comes to an end, Legion Ritualis can surprise you and captivate with the classic motif, and those are sampled into the structure of the composition very efficiently, in my opinion, and you don't have the feeling that something is jarring, something doesn't fit in the whole structure of the track. And they mention the moon lay hidden beneath a cloud, Christian death, and in slaughter natives as inspirations, but I would also add to those inspirations an enigmatic group, Slovenian, I think, or Croatian, one of those Balkan countries, Devil Doll, and its dark yet theatrical atmosphere. I think that for fans who miss good martial industrial, a genre that is still in retreat, I think this position is worth considering. Legion Ritualis, Rites of Futility. And yeah, the second one, Zmij. Zmij. It's also titled. It's the name of the project and the title of this album, Zmij. And I may have a small problem here because I don't really review black metal albums. I used to listen to black metal a lot back in the days, but today I listen to it much less, and to be honest, I have an average insight of what's going on in this genre, as well as I think average competence to review this type of music. But let's try. Zmij is a band from Slovakia, and this is their debut EP. At least this is how they describe it. The label, Gladivs Records, a sub-label of Gladivs Records, EP, although it's in fact lasts as long as many full-length albums, I think over 40 minutes. And Zmij, meaning dragon in Proto-Slavic, but in Polish it's a word similar to żmija, which means viper. And again, the album looks like this. This is the cover. No booklet this time, just a digi sleeve and the inside and the back. It's a black metal, like I said, but with a more theatrical style, more than the obscure but so attractive primitivism by, let's say, Dark Throne. The music is kept at medium and fast, but not frantic tempos, and the standard set of instruments, percussion, guitar, bass guitar, and it's also accompanied by keyboards, which increases the impression of fascination with the symphonic black metal from the 90s. And the use of those keyboards, for instance in the third track, Jaskina, plamień, a maska z ludzkiej kości. it gives me the impression or association with like old albums by Cradle of Field, for instance. Although the riffs themselves are rougher, a bit like black trash even, which the label even mentions in the album description on Bandcamp. Although and the vocals, you won't hear any growls here or any black metal screams. Maybe apart from one or two moments on the album, the vocals are clean and I don't know if it's a good thing because they are very theatrical and exalted, performed entirely in Slovak. This language makes Zmij remind me of 13 Stolety. I know it's a Czech gothic rock band, but Czech and Slovak language sound very similar to a foreigner, even for Pole like me. So I can't get this similarity out of my head, but this um, this theatrical and exalted, like I said, form of those vocals is a little bit too much for me. And all what I said up to this moment applies to the first three tracks and the fifth, because the fourth, with the fourth cantata Nebula, we have a surprise. It's a dungeon synth in its purest form, lo-fi dungeon synth, I should say. It's basically a simple melody, winding like the Ritualis. Hey. Winding like a sleepy viper or something, with its coarse sound. And I'm not a fan of dungeon synth, and to be honest, I'm a bit bored with this track, especially since it's terribly monotonous and devoid of any variation. Sorry. And the sixth track, Sen o niekoniecznych salach w glibinach ziemi. Sorry, this font is a bit unreadable for me. This track is probably the coolest part of the album. Again, dungeon synth, again repetitive, but also with a pleasantly spatial, maybe even slightly cosmic sound. Somewhere I hear distant echoes, maybe even of Tomhead by Burzum. I listen to this track with some pleasure, but it's not enough for me to be delighted 100% with this album. I simply don't really like this kind of fantasy escapism in black metal. Old castles, magic, sorcery, this kind of fairy tales of this type of music. I probably like Summoning only, this Austrian band, and also not all the albums by Summoning either. But to be completely honest, Zmij is much more metal than Summoning, which compositions are mostly based on synths. But in the end, it's not really my music, I have to be honest. And this black metal variety probably still has a lot of fans, and those people might give Zmij a chance. They probably like it, but I pass. Sorry. That was Zmij, self-titled Zmij. And the album number 3, Xiphos, The Age of Alexander. If you listen to The Age of Alexander for the first time without knowing anything about the project, but also if you are somewhat familiar with the martial neoclassical scene of last several years, the nature of this album may seem familiar to me, because there is also the project called Herr, or Herr, that released several conceptual albums. Most of them were released by Cold Spring Records, if I'm not mistaken, and those albums were focusing either on some historical events, or interpreting historical cultural works in their own way, such as Just van der Wendel's drama Lucifer. And their music is precisely this martial neoclassical, often referring to the music of the period they are talking about at the time, whether it is Baroque, I don't know, the Age of Reason, or something, or medieval musical. No, I think they haven't any medieval based. No, never mind. And yes, listening to the first track of this Xiphos, even before I got the CD, I felt like I have entered this river in the past. And indeed, Xiphos is half of Herr, that half responsible for the very characteristic vocals and lyrics. And those vocals gave me that impression in the first place, of the similarity with Xiphos. While the music was composed on this one by Simon Schellmedrin from Dark Awake or Schattenmuse. And yeah, this is how the album looks like. Cover, the inside, and the booklet again with a lot of lyrics. But this is very important to them, the lyrical layer. The photo of the guys, the credits, of course. And let's be clear, despite the similarities, Xiphos is not a ripoff of Herr, or rather self-ripoff. Herr's music is focused more on neoclassicism, while being rooted in classical music in terms of sound, at least to the extent that their purely technical or logistic capabilities allowed them, of course. And The Age of Alexander is seemingly similar to Herr's albums, because here we have a concept similar to opera, or a kind of radio play maybe. The lyrics, like I said, are equally or maybe even more important than the music. But although this mentioned concept, which I will discuss in a moment, is very, very concrete, the music doesn't, on the contrary to her, doesn't necessarily refer directly to a given historical era. Simon Schellmedrin using attributes characteristic for martial industrial style, but also dark wave, gothic, sometimes even dark ambient, created quite a universal soundtrack that could illustrate events from antique times, but also would also fit as well, for example, for the story of, I don't know, Napoleon conquest, for instance. Purely antique references appear in these sounds, but rather very subtly, and Simon's tracks are very cinematic, and I dare to say that compositionally they are better than those in Herr, on Herr's albums. In my opinion, Simon has a better sense of melody and a better feeling of composition's dynamics and emotions, because elegy is mixed with pathos here, triumph with defeat, anger with melancholy. And above all, like I said, there are really good and memorable melodies here. And what I also like about this album is the fact that there are more sung parts here, in contrast to her, because her albums were more based on a spoken word, which personally didn't quite suit me. And like I said, a few other words about the concept. As you can guess from the cover and the title, The Age of Alexander, this is the CD referring to the ancient times, the Age of Alexander. Each track tells a story of a specific figure from those times, somewhere more famous like Alexander or Pyrrhus, some less, and each text is in a way a mini biography of this figure. The lyrics are generally very well written, and I read and listen to them with great interest, and that for someone who doesn't particularly pay attention to the lyrical aspect of music is a big deal. Yeah, there were a lot of comparisons with hair in this review, but due to the personal connotations and, after all, similar style, it was inevitable. For me, however, this album is better than all of Hair's achievements, apart maybe from The Wondrous Lucifer, the second movement, because I haven't heard this album yet. It was released by Steinklang Industries a few weeks ago. Overall, however, it's a really decent martial neoclassical piece of work. Xiphos, The Age of Alexander. And the last one for today, Contre Son, Infinity of Dreams. I don't know anything about Contre Son. I think it's their first album, and from what I remember, French language. Contre Son doesn't mean against sun, but against sound, which seems like a slightly perverse or flirtatious name, because they are not that bad at making sounds. Although once again, these aren't exactly my kind of music. But let's take a look at the album first. The cover and the inside. Again, no booklet this time. The credits. The photo of the members, which are Christina Harslem and Michel Götting. And the back with the titles. It's a kind of neoclassical dark wave, but very cold and dense and ascetic and grey, just like the grey cover is. This is music of gloomy castles, rainy landscapes, and no hope for the sun. When talking about neoclassical dark wave, the associations are obvious. That Can Dance or Rudzielec. Sorry. Rudzielec. Przestań. That Can Dance or Arcana. But there are more colors in the music of the above projects, even when it's dark. Contre Son focuses on the homogeneity of the atmosphere, so to speak, sometimes even falling into dark ambient atmospheres. These are, hard times. The people of the realm, which centers this castle I mentioned, they are starving, and they are on the brink of extinction, and there's absolutely no hope for better tomorrow. This gloomy atmosphere of hopelessness is mixed with sadness and longing for what once was, as well as the rare flashes of memories from those sunnier times when it was still possible to make plans for the future. And these depressing images that are born in my head they are painted with drone-like soundscapes played by synthesizers or string instruments stretched in space, and sometimes those tracks are driven by marching drums and vocals, both male and female. Sometimes I hear, or I rather feel, maybe not hear, feel slight echoes of early Elend, but rather without this sacred or religious element. In fact, after the first two tracks, Silent Words and Kleiner Geist, I wasn't very intrigued by this album. I didn't really like those first two tracks, but the further I dug into this album, the more interesting and suggestive it became, especially when those flashes of melancholic ethereal beauty began to emerge from under this darkness, like the track 6, Amour Amitié. What a beautiful title, by the way, Love and Friendship. We all need that these days. Or 10th album, Common Silence, with almost dark jazz vocal expression. So maybe not everything is lost in this world. So in the end, despite my initial doubts, Contre Son managed to break down that wall of distrust, and they managed to charm me several times in a couple of tracks on this really decent album, Contre Son, Infinity of Dreams. Yeah, okay, that was Gladivs Records 4 albums feature. Not as good as those previous previous features. There was among these albums, there's no such a blast for me like Sun Vessel albums or Blind Ruler, Cursed Land. But if I had to choose which one I liked the best of these 4, I think I would pick this one, Xiphos, The Age of Alexander. Yeah, okay. That would be everything for today. Thanks for watching and see you soon.